can't find nothing on the radio.
You ready, Steve?
Welcome to Songology. He's Bruce,
He's Richard.
and this is another episode from our Song of the Day archives.
Enjoy.
Welcome back, Bruce. We've been on the road for 2 weeks. What are you going to do before we head home?
Well, we have to talk about Paul Simon before we leave Muscle Shoals. And so, of course, to talk about Paul Simon, I'm going to start talking about Rod Stewart. Because that makes sense, right?
Yeah, right.
No, well, the thing that Rod and Paul have in common, apart from the fact that they both recorded in Muscle Shoals, was the mistake that they made about who it was that was making this music. Because they were under the impression that the musicians who were playing on all of this great R&B style stuff that was coming out of that particular recording studio were all black musicians. And they're not. They're all a bunch of white guys. In fact, when Rod Stewart went to record in Muscle Shoals, the story goes that Rod came late to the studio. He was a little bit late getting there. His producer was already there. And the Swampers were already in the studio just sitting around waiting for him. And Rod arrives, goes into the control room, and says to his producer, okay, well, sorry I'm late. Should be ready to go. Where's the band? And the producer points out to the studio. Well, they're there. They're all ready to go. And Rod thought for the longest time that they were putting him on, that this can't be the band. This is not the band. Eventually he was convinced and had a good time recording there. But the reason why I mention that is because Paul Simon, when he heard the song that we played earlier in the week, the Staple Singers' I'll Take You There, he was really taken with that piece and the sort of the groove of that whole piece. Well, Paul was working on a song for an album that he was wanting to put out, and the song was called Take Me to the Mardi Gras. And he said, what I really want is some of that southern groove, that funky sound that they've got there. And so he called up the guys at Stax Records, because the Staple Singers, of course, had been a Stax act for years, and said, I want you to arrange a recording session. I want to get all those same black musicians that played on I'll Take You There. And the fellow from Stax he was talking to said, well, we can do that, and we can get you all the same musicians, but you're going to find that they're pretty pale. So Paul goes down to Muscle Shoals. He comes into the studio, and things are a little strange there at the time, because remember we spoke about how it was converted old commercial building. It wasn't in the best of shape and so forth. Well, the roof leaked. And it happened that just slightly before Paul Simon arrived for his booked studio time, that they'd had a lot of rain. And there was a leak that was right over the recording console. And so what these guys had done, which is sort of I thought good marks for ingenuity, right? It's a little bit of a country boy fix, right? They had gotten quite a number of female sanitary pads, shall we say, and taped them across the ceiling to absorb the water when it came through. Right? And so it's not going to drip down on the recording console. So Paul Simon flies in. Now we're in rural Alabama, a small place out quite a ways from anywhere. He walks into this studio, and David Hood says that the look on his face was quite something. It's like, oh, what have I gotten myself into here? Because it's kind of this ratty building, and then we got a bunch of Kotex taped to the ceiling. Like, what the heck is going on here? But, well, he isn't going to say anything, not going to say anything. So he's just, okay, well, let's do this. Now, he's booked 4 days of studio time, because that's how long it would usually take him to record a track and what he's used to up in the recording studios in New York. And so he sits down and he explains to them what it is that he wants. And Barry Beckett, the keyboard player, was famous for being able to crank out extremely accurate and very quick chord charts for everybody. So Barry whips up a bunch of chord charts really, really quick. So we know what the song is, we know how we want to do it, and they nail it in 2 takes. So they're done. And so this whole process has taken about an hour or an hour and a half. So it's the first morning of what's supposed to be 4 days of studio time, and we're done. And so Now Simon is quite impressed. Never mind the rattiness of the surroundings. These guys really know what they're doing. But he's also a bit taken aback. Oh, like, well, what do I do now? Thought this was going to take several days, at least the 4 days that I've booked. And so one of the guys there said, well, have you got anything else you want to work on? We're here anyway, And so they proceeded to work up and record both the song Loves Me Like a Rock and the song that I'm going to do this morning, which is Kodachrome. You remember Kodachrome? Not
Yes.
the film, but the song.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I thought that it would be particularly appropriate to play this one because you and I having gone to high school together, right?
Yes.
This has one of the best opening lines ever as far as that experience, right? Because it goes, when I think back on all the crap I learned in high school, it's a wonder I can think at all.
True.
The shout out to some of our lesser light high school teachers.
Yeah,
We did
sure.
have some good ones. Let's be
Yes, we did.
let's be fair. But yeah, I mean, this was a big hit for Paul. Kodachrome is actually film. I mean, as you know, but
Yes.
kids now, these young kids nowadays with their digital cameras, they won't remember any of that, right?
I dealt
It was
with a professional photographer who had no idea what Kodachrome was.
Really?
He had never shot a single picture in his career on film.
Wow, that's surprising. Because, well, Kodachrome, they retired it officially. The color film was officially retired in June of 2009. So it was after 74 years that they had made it. And it was the thing for many years, the standard. Actually, when Paul was working on the track, he had the title Coming Home, which has coincidentally the same number of syllables. Coming Home, but it really didn't work. And suddenly the word Kodachrome came to him. He didn't know what that meant. He didn't know why it came to him that way. But he started to think, this would make a more interesting song. And so it became a song about appreciating the things that give color to the world. So let's give a listen to the skill of the Swampers, who got to do this because they nailed Take Me to the Mardi Gras in 2 takes. Here's Kodachrome.
And as usual, I have to stop her right there due to the wonderful world of fair use rules. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. You can visit us on Facebook or head over to our website, songology.ca. Now, here's your chance to listen to the music or go on to the next episode.